Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to show the reveal, or where we're at so far, on these arborvitae cuttings I took last October. I took them very late in the year, which is not ideal. You can see some of them are still alive, but there's no roots on them. So I'll pull one right now. So the roots, maybe if they're there really little, I would expect really good root formation before I would pot these up further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some new cuttings because we're in May. So we'll have all summer for this to work. I'm also going to use rooting hormone, which I didn't use before. And I'm going to keep this in a more shaded location. I kept this a little bit too much in the sun, which is not ideal. And so I'll find a little bit more sheltered area for the next batch. So we're going to do that right now. So I went out to my emerald arborvitaes and I reached in and I just took a couple of cuttings. Nothing special about it. I just cut as deep in as I could. Every one of these will be pulled off. If you haven't seen my other video, you just pull each one of these little pieces off. Nothing fancy about it. Don't have to be delicate. And we're gonna just strip them down. And I might take some of these other ones and strip them down further. One of the things that I got this year to help with a lot of the tree and shrub propagation I'm gonna do is a deeper celled crate. And this is a heavier plastic than you usually get, which is really nice. And then I'm just reusing other trays that I have here. I'll link these below if anybody's interested in getting this. If you're going to do tree and shrub propagation, you want to take lots and lots of cuttings because they're not all going to work. And having a multi-cell deeper tray like this will make it easy. So this one, if I put it in there, it may go all the way down, but I'm going to cut a little bit of this off. I'm going to cut about an inch of this off. Hopefully you can see that. And then I have some rooting hormone, just basic rooting hormone powdered. I'm going to dip the little trimming into water, and then I'm going to dip it into the rooting hormone, and then I'm going to simply stick it in this compost. This is compost that I made, which is a little bit of peat moss, a little bit of composted manure, and some perlite. The point of the medium is just to kind of keep it moist, and it will have a little bit of that nutritional value, even though there's no roots on this yet. I have found this to work pretty good. And this is for outdoor cuttings. If you're doing houseplants, it's a little bit different. But for outdoor cuttings, this is what we're going to use. And so I'm going to continue to make sure I'm testing the height on the tray and the backside if I put it up front, just to test how long it is to make sure I cut it down. I'm going to leave it scraggly like this. So the recommendation is that actually helps. And I'm going to continue to stick these in. And I've pre-moistened this medium too, which makes it good. If you have friends and family that are going to be moving to new properties, sometimes doing this stuff ahead of time is a great way, even if it's something like for your children that are planning into the future. I know my daughter, one of my daughters, two of them actually, two of the daughters are looking to buy houses sometime in the next 2 to 5 years, and they both like gardening like their mom, of course. So they are going to want to come back and have some free shrubs. So I think this would be a great home warming gift for them into the future. So if you have friends and family that are thinking about moving or getting their own place, this is what a great gift to give someone if you can give trees or shrubs that you propagated, because other than your time, it really doesn't cost a whole lot to do that. And I love trees. So I've got a lot of trees on my property. This year I'm going to be doing some propagations on some other varieties. I bought a bunch of yews this year, different kinds of yews, and some other types of evergreens that I have that I'm going to be doing propagating. Zone 4 is really picky. There's certain things you just can't grow here that the other gardeners can grow. Just one zone warmer than me, Zone 5, can plant so many cool shrubs that I just can't do here. I mean, just simple things like a techni arborvitae will not grow here. I think it's a techni. But I've seen so many different types of evergreens that just won't grow good in this zone. Like, oh, I know what it was. So like a green giant arborvitae, which is just beautiful, I can't grow in this zone. It's zone 5. So otherwise that's what I would have used instead of these emerald arborvitaes to line my garden. The emerald arborvitae gets about 20 feet tall. I will actually show some B-roll of how I've used it in my courtyard garden. It's just lovely. It's just very stately. It's very structural. You don't have to prune them, although nipping the tops will help make them go a little bit wider if you just nip the top. I had my husband do a hard prune across the top of one that was just unruly. It was like 2 feet taller and it was irritating me. Is not really recommended, but I wanted it shorter. So we'll see how that goes into the future. But I'm gonna have him go cut the rest of them just to trim off about 6 inches or so, because I want to make sure that they're somewhat in control, and I want it to be somewhat of a proper English or British style garden. My garden looks a little French right now, I think, because of the pots and stuff that I'm doing. But so when I'm cutting these pieces, I'm cutting some really long, I'm cutting or pulling and leaving a ragged edge, cutting some of them shorter. And you want to use hardwood cuttings. None of these are green. These are all hardwood cuttings. I think the green would be a problem because it's going to be too flimsy. I'll take really short pieces and really long pieces, and then we'll come back and we'll see what works. I'm going to put these on my front porch when I'm done, which is east facing, and it doesn't get a lot of sun. The trees shade it pretty good. So I think it'll be the better place. It's one of the places that I use to harden off plants for a few days before I actually move them out into the landscape. So I overwinter a lot of plants, and that's how I harden them off, is by putting them on that north or east facing wall in the front of my house. Sometimes I wait long enough and sometimes I don't. Some of these are really short. You can see how short it is, but I'm okay. I got so many cuttings here. Technically you shouldn't need to use viridian hormone, but I'm going to. I just want to get a little bit extra assurance. And then the other thing is you want to make sure that this potting medium or whatever you're using stays moist. People will use sand because they say that the roots will come through easier. This potting mix I'm using is pretty light and airy, so I'm not worried about that. But we're going to find out. My guess is this is going to take about 8 weeks. So it'll probably be about the 1st of April before I come back and check on it. I would love to see new growth, although I don't know if I'll get new growth on these. We'll have to see if they got enough energy to push any new growth out. Down to very little pieces. So that was pretty easy. It maybe took me 30 minutes total by the time I started. The camera setup took longer than doing the propagation, but it looks pretty nice. I'll come back in about 8 weeks, about 1st of August, and I'll do a follow-up and show how this is going. So remember, when you're doing cuttings, you have to have patience. So I suggest that you put a calendar reminder for about 8 weeks. Depending on the time of year and the temperature that you have in your area, it's going to be different. But 8 weeks for me is usually about right, where I'll see some root development. So you have to be patient when you do propagations, but the reward is worth it because you get all the free plants that you want. If this video is helpful, give us a thumbs up so YouTube knows to share this content with others. Also, consider subscribing so you don't miss any of our follow-up videos. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great day.